Coming up on Channel 8 News, how a local animal shelter is making the most of the pandemic and what the rec is doing to open back up student activities.
With a high of 51 here in Manhattan today and a north wind coming in at 15 miles an hour, I'll have that and more for you later in the show on Channel 8 News.
This is KKSU-LD, broadcasting in high definition from Kansas State University, covering Manhattan, Riley County, and the Flint Hills. You're watching Channel 8 News.
Good morning and welcome back to Channel 8 News. I'm Bailey Matthews. Today we'll be taking a look at how local foundations are coming together to benefit the community, and later how the rec is beginning a new phase of reopening. But first, we have a Manhattan mask protocol update. Tuesday, the Manhattan City Commission voted 4-1 extended the city mask mandate to May 16th. The Riley County Health Department eased most COVID-19 precautions as March began, with the county's mask protocol as one of the only measures to remain. This week was supposed to be spring break for K-State students, but with the week-long break being canceled back in September to prevent unneeded travel with the COVID-19 pandemic still affecting the United States, students had to treat this week as any normal school week. K-State students will be getting one mental health day to make up for the lost break, currently scheduled for April 16th. The day off is a product of many conversations between the Student Governing Association and Faculty Senate. For Student Body Vice President Lane Lundeen, the one day just isn't enough.
I don't think the one day was enough. I know that students are still pretty upset about it because spring break is usually just like a way to just like get a relief from all the schoolwork, and now that we have 16 weeks of continued class, I know that it's very difficult for some people, especially if they're in like their senior year.
During the pandemic, many businesses have made changes. The animal shelter has been no exception. Reporter Madeline Emerson has more on the story.
While the T. Russell Wright's animal shelter has had to make adjustments during the pandemic, they've seen adoption numbers go through the roof, according to Deb Watkins, the director of animal services at the shelter.
More people are at home and kids have been doing remote learning, and so it's just such a great time to adopt. You know, when your family is home more, you can spend more time with the animal, you can do more training, and really helping with that transition period.
The shelter is able to track the amount of time each animal spends there, and the average length of stay has decreased.
Our average length of stay for the animals has gone down, so they're getting adopted quicker. The average length of stay right now for cats is about 20 days, which is really good, and the average length of stay for dogs is 5 days.
Due to COVID-19, the shelter is closed to walk-ins, but citizens can call and make an appointment for visitations, adoptions, and other services. Some people might think that the animal shelter is similar to a typical dog pound, but for Animal Control Officer Brandon Sokol, he sees it as a good place for animals with no home.
We take excellent care of all of the animals that come here. We have a very high positive outcome rate. You know, if the animal can't be with somebody in a home, I think this is the second best place to be.
Part of that excellent care comes from volunteers and donations from the community.
We so appreciate the volunteers. If people can come in and spend time with these animals and do some enrichment for them. Really appreciate the donations, you know, bedding, cat litter, peanut butter. We go through a lot of peanut butter that we use for training.
Volunteering consists of a variety of activities, from walking dogs to keeping the animals cleaned and brushed. In Manhattan, Madeline Emerson, Channel 8 News.
The animal shelter is open from 1 to 5 Monday through Saturday and closed on Sundays. After its most recent renovations, Hale Library has made lots of changes. I checked it out firsthand to see what's new. In 2018 fire, K-State Libraries worked with Hutton Construction Company for more than 24 months to renovate Hale Library from top to bottom. The first floor was completed and opened to the public in 2019, with the second floor following in the summer of 2020 after the pandemic hit. Much has changed in the past 2 years. So what's new in the library? They have turned the first and second floors of the historic Farrell Library into reading rooms and added 17 group collaboration rooms, as well as the Resource Link, a space for campus partners to work with students in Hale Library. And coming soon, the Sunderland Foundation Innovation Lab will be opened. We at Channel 8 continue to look into impactful women. This week, we take a look at a unique artist exhibit. Frida Kahlo is a famous artist known for her self-portraits and usage of vibrant colors in her artistry. The Wonder Workshop, a children's museum, is celebrating Kahlo in a unique way. They have designed 4 rooms inspired by her life, including a room where kids can make authentic Mexican food. Susan Reese, director of Wonder Workshop, explains why she believes it is important to have exhibits like this.
Different people that are famous throughout history that we've all heard of, Amelia Earhart, if you want to think of different women we've all heard of, Amelia Earhart, Eleanor Roosevelt, and great women to learn about, but we also need to break out of that box and learn about other women that, other people in our history that we're not taught in our typical, lessons, history lessons. So lots of reasons, but those are a few why I can think of to learn about Frida.
Coming up later in the show, we'll take a deep dive into some K-State clubs and how community members are getting involved with a local foundation. Our MHK reporting team has more on that after the break.
Like a purple front has kind of moved into the stadium. Beautiful day and music's loud. The fans are on their feet.
Willman crushes it to left, and K-State leads 8-1. The 1-2, a swing and a miss. Streams it to center. Long run for Mertz. He can't get there. K-State has added 5 here this 6th inning. K-State will run the option. Here's Skylar Thompson. He walks it in. Walks it in for Antonio Gordon. Here's the shot in the step. And it is Kansas State, courtesy of Brent Carlson. Side of the box, crossing, wide open, the shot.
Thompson right away. That ball is gone.
She gets the ball back, goes up strong, scores, and 1.
Upon arrival, I'm like, oh, these people love football. Like, these people are nuts about Kansas State. And Saturday morning, swarms of people outside of the stadium tailgating. We come in, it's about 45 minutes before game time. The stadium's packed. And I'm like, this is the atmosphere. Whenever I dream of playing college football, this is exactly what I see. The chants, the music, everything. And just throughout the entire game, it was just a place I knew I had to be.
Welcome back to Channel 8. Our MHK All Day special reporter, Macy Burning, took a look at how local foundations are helping the community during uncertain times.
As the pandemic continues to wreak havoc on the economy both locally and nationally, community foundations and service providers have stepped in to help out people in need. One organization, the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation, has been a major part of that. The foundation is part of or contributes to more than 1,000 community-oriented funds, a large portion of which serve the immediate Manhattan area.
Well, it's a very silent role in many aspects. There are several charities that a lot of people really don't know about that in times like COVID-19 that really stepped up and took care of a lot of the personal needs of individuals.
These organizations address issues like mental health support, food insecurity, and education access. Henrik says people might expect the pandemic to have slowed the output of these organizations and hindered their ability to help people, but that's just not the case.
And when we saw COVID-19 this last year, where many individuals were losing jobs or losing employment because of small businesses shutting down, we actually, thanks to the government, the IRS as well, we actually expanded many of our charitable offerings to individuals. There was a great blessing that many of the individuals in this community stepped forward to help out as well.
The Greater Manhattan Community Foundation helps over 70 organizations within the Manhattan community. Of these include the Salvation Army and the new nonprofit organization Be Able. For nonprofits like Be Able, the pandemic has created an opportunity to start working for the community at a time when it's needed most.
COVID definitely played a big part in our ability to kind of hit the ground running, I guess you could say, because a lot of people, especially like say, social workers, mental health care professionals, people that we'd like to get through our doors to be kind of helping share the load and help work with some of our neighbors. It's been hard to get them in here just because of COVID restrictions.
To get more information about donating to or supporting charities through the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation, visit mcfks.org or find them on social media. From Manhattan, Macy Burning for MHK All Day.
Organizations on campus like Cat's Cupboard are also adjusting the way they operate. MHK All Day reporter Bailey Short sat down with a student worker for Cat's Cupboard to talk about the changes.
Hello, today we have Maggie Malmberg with us. Maggie has been a student staff member at Cat's Cupboard now for over 3 years. Thanks for joining us today, Maggie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So when the pandemic hit just about a year ago now, a lot of things changed. How was Cat's Cupboard affected by this?
Yeah, so Cat's Cupboard was not allowed to have any students come in. And so I actually moved back home. So all of our volunteers and our student staff members were not available to help. So this put a huge burden on our head person at Cat's Cupboard. And so what they had to do is basically revamp our entire process to an order form. And so they would send that out to individuals that use the pantry each week. It got put out in the K-State today, and people would select what items they wanted. And then each week they would package the items that people selected and put those into bags. And then those bags would be labeled by the household name, and those would get set outside or in a hallway. And those individuals would have to come pick those up. So they were spending hours each week packing all of those bags. And we don't always get the same food in every week. It just kind of relies on what donations we have. So those order forms would have to change quite a bit, and sometimes substitutions would have to be made. But it took a lot of manual labor over the summer just to pack all of those bags. And then kind of transitioning back into the school year, we were able to open up again, which was awesome, but we have to limit how many people we have in the pantry at a time. So that's limited to 4 people, and those are kind of spaced out. And we also changed the whole flow of the pantry so that it's just kind of a one direction flow going in. We have people check in with their temperature when they're there, and we have a kind of a guard put up between the student employees and the pantry users as well.
Wow. So it sounds like you guys had to change quite a bit, and you didn't have students in there. So did that put a lot of extra work on other employees that work?
Yeah, there was a lot going on behind the scenes just to get the form ready, make sure that process worked smoothly, and a lot of adjustments had to happen over time. And I was stuck back in Western Kansas, so I was trying to help with certain social media efforts and things like that. But it was hard for the couple of staff members that we did have in, and a few of our volunteers were still in Manhattan because they had housing here. So they were able to come in and help a little bit, but still trying to, limit the amount of people in the space, even when the pandemic was at its height, kind of in the spring and throughout the summer. It was hard just to keep those numbers small enough, but have enough manpower to pack all those bags was difficult.
Well, that's awesome. That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much. That was great insight, and sounds like you guys had a lot to change, but you really adapted well to it. Thanks again for joining us.
Perfect. Thank you, Bailey.
Cat's Cupboard is located in Fairchild Hall and is open Monday through Friday and closed on the weekends. Stay tuned in. We will be hearing from Jacob Hall about K-State sports and clubs. And after the break, weather reporter Madeline Emerson will give us this week's forecast.
Kind of always really been interested in interior design since I was little. And it's an art, it's like a creative outlet, but there's also this problem-solving aspect to it as well. So it's just like a puzzle. And there's also not really a right or wrong answer to it. I love it though. The best part about design is you get so caught up in it and you just get your flow going. You just get kind of lost in it. Oh, I love it.
Please direct your attention to the pride of Wildcat Land, the Kansas State University Marching Band.
A great environment it is here at Bill Snyder Family Stadium.
It's time for the Wabash Cannonball.
This crowd, this is energetic. This is perfect.
This atmosphere, it's just different.
The one, the only, the pride of Wildcat Land, the Kansas State University Marching Band.
What the radio station has done for me, it has allowed me to use my public speaking capabilities and provide it into a entertaining way. I would say the fact that most of the classes I've taken have not just been fluff, like they feel like they've actually prepared me for the world. If all things go well, working there might have gotten me a job.
Off the dribble, and it is showtime!
Welcome back. We'll now go to Madeline Emerson for an update on what is to expect in this week's forecast. Madeline?
Thanks, Bailey. A line of severe weather and tornadoes broke out ranging from the Midwest to the south of the United States last night. That continued into this morning. The storm moved across Alabama and into Georgia and Florida. This is a huge reminder to our residents in Kansas that we should be prepared as we get closer to severe weather season here in Kansas. Be sure to keep your eyes on the forecast and be ready for severe weather as we head into the spring and summer seasons. Now on to our weather today. On our national map, this is kind of the area where we had the storms coming through, lots of tornado activity, but it looks like there's a nice high of 84 over in the Florida area, and then over here in the western region, we got a good 82 over here, and then the upper 60s up in the northwest, and then kind of looking at our Kansas map here, we have some high winds out in western Kansas and a high of 50 near Grant County, and over in Douglas County, we have some rain over here by Douglas and Johnson County. And looking into this kind of area right here, we have a good 50 degrees. And now we are looking at that rain that we had last week. So we had, according to the National Weather Service, we only had around 3 inches of rain in Kansas this past week. You might be worried about flooding, but Wildcat Creek, which has seen its share of flooding, has a flood stage of 17 feet, but the creek is only at 8.48 feet as of this morning. Here's a good list of kind of what the water levels are up to in Manhattan and what the flood stage is where they would be a little bit concerned. But we're looking pretty good so far in this spring season. Now on to our 24-hour forecast. We have this evening a high of 47 and some partly cloudy skies, and moving into Friday morning, it'll be pretty sunny this weekend and pretty sunny on Friday. It will be a little chilly in the morning, but it looks like it'll warm up a little bit to be about 47 degrees towards the end of the day and Friday afternoon, with north winds at about 5 miles per hour and the humidity at around 74%. And then moving into our 5-day forecast, we have a nice weekend coming up. You know, we had that rain last weekend, but we finally have some sun coming up this week with a high of 54 on Friday and the high for the weekend at 67 degrees. But we are going to be expecting some rain again on Monday and throughout next week. And it looks like you should get outside this weekend and really enjoy that nice weather. That's all the time we have for weather. Back to you, Bailey.
Thanks, Maddie. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great weekend with some nice weather. Next, we have an update on K-State baseball as they return home from following a road trip, and how a group from K-State is taking to the sky. Stay with us for more on Channel 8.
Kansas State's athletic program does not like to postpone until tomorrow what can be accomplished today.
It's going to be tied into Bramlage with some upgrades to Bramlage in terms of the Legends Room. Is now going to be 7 times bigger than it currently is, with new entrances on the east and west side. So that facility, the South End Zone project, is going to touch both Bramlage in a very positive way, and obviously finish off the stadium look and feel.
I actually started out in mechanical engineering, and I realized that I liked a lot more of the sciences and chemistries and biology classes that came with engineering. So then I decided to try out chemical engineering first, and I really enjoyed chemical engineering. An engineering degree also opens a lot of opportunities into other fields. hoping to go to law school after I graduate to study patent law. It's a really good opportunity to take what you would learn with your engineering degree and apply it more so in a law or government-based application.
He'll take it down on Jacobson. Off to McGurl. Layup. Yes! Fielded is at 48. Here's Brooks to the 25-20. He's going to score! Wildcat touchdown! He crushes it!
K-State, I think, has made me comfortable taking a leadership position. As a computer scientist, the leadership experience and how well you communicate with others is often overlooked by most people. I'm a section leader in the K-State marching band, so it definitely made pursuing, those leadership opportunities more easily. If you demonstrate proficiency in those skills, then that really sets you apart, and I think that really has to go into why I ultimately got the internship.
This week in sports, our reporter Jacob Hall did a deep dive into K-State Club that has been starting back up with the recent lifting of COVID regulations, as well as updates on K-State baseball. Jacob?
Thanks, Bailey. As both the men's and women's basketball seasons wrapped up last week, marking the end of winter sports, one K-State club sport is able to participate year-round. At the Abilene Municipal Airport, there will be no crowds, but the excitement will be present as members get the opportunity to descend from 10,000 feet above. David McCune is the president of the Skydive Club at K-State and became interested in the sport in high school. Now, he is an avid jumper who tries to go every weekend. Each time, it's the feeling that brings him back.
It's fun. I mean, there's nothing like it. There's a thrill of adrenaline. Getting up into the plane and then jumping out with your friends is pretty amazing.
When the time arrives, group members will board the Cessna 182 and have the choice on what type of jump they can complete.
Typically, first-time jumpers doing the solo static line course, they're going to be jumping from 3,500 feet their first time, and you kind of work up incrementally as you move along the course, up by like 1,000 feet at a time.
Instructor Jesse Magana has completed 4,100 jumps over 34 years, but he says that prior to taking the runway in their Cessna 182, the proper techniques need to be learned.
When we have our class, it's more than just giving you the skills to make a skydive. We're basically giving you, it truly is a class where we're teaching you about skydiving.
Student jumper Thomas Miller is relatively new to the club, but he feels safe after the extensive hours of teaching that go on.
It is a lot safer than they make it sound. Jumping out of a plane isn't as dangerous as, it sounds. There's a lot of safety precautions. The equipment has been, forged throughout decades to be the safest they can be.
For McCune, he has completed 46 jumps, but he has ambitious plans to double that number come summer. The club is for not only students, but members of the community as well. For new jumpers, $170 covers the instruction class plus the first jump, and there are plans available if one chooses to do so. After the 2020 NCAA tournament was canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic, this year's tournament is set to begin tonight with matchups in Indianapolis. The first game between Texas Southern and Mount St. Mary's will tip off at 4:10 p.m. All the action throughout the tournament can be found on CBS, TBS, TNT, and True TV. The K-State baseball team swept Northern Illinois and split with Rice last weekend in Houston, Texas. On Friday night, outfielder Dylan Phillips led the way in the bottom of the ninth with a 2-run single, 2 stolen bases, and beat the throw home on a ground ball to give the Wildcats a walk-off 4-3 victory. Now 11-5, the team is back on the diamond this weekend for a 3-game series against New Mexico at Tointon Family Stadium. That's all we have for sports this week. Back to you at the desk, Bailey.
Thanks, Jacob. After the break, what are K-State students doing to find new ways to play basketball safely through K-State facilities? And a look at our weekend forecast. Stay with us.
Kansas State's athletic program does not like to postpone until tomorrow what can be accomplished today.
It's going to be tied into Bramlage with some upgrades to Bramlage in terms of the Legends Room. Is now going to be 7 times bigger than it currently is, with new entrances on the east and west side. So that facility, the South End Zone project, is going to touch both Bramlage in a very positive way, and obviously finish off the stadium look and feel.
I actually started out in mechanical engineering, and I realized that I liked a lot more of the sciences and chemistries and biology classes that came with engineering. So then I decided to try out chemical engineering first, and I really enjoyed chemical engineering. An engineering degree also opens a lot of opportunities into other fields. Hoping to go to law school after I graduate to study patent law. It's a really good opportunity to take what you would learn with your engineering degree and apply it more so in a law or government-based application.
He'll take it down on Jacobson. Off to McGurl. Layup. Yes! Fielded is at 48. Here's Brooks to the 25-20. He's going to score! Wildcat touchdown! He crunches it!
K-State, I think, has made me comfortable taking a leadership position. As a computer scientist, the leadership experience and how well you communicate with others is often overlooked by most people. I'm a section leader in the K-State marching band, so it definitely made pursuing, those leadership opportunities more easily. If you demonstrate proficiency in those skills, then that really sets you apart, and I think that really has to go into why I ultimately got the internship.
After being in Phase 2 of their reopening plans in August, the K-State Rec entered into Phase 3 last Thursday and are working towards opening up more areas for students to use. Working with Student Life, Lafine, and the university's own reopening plans, the recreational facility will be opening up the North Sand volleyball courts, indoor squash, racquetball, the game lounge, and the indoor basketball courts. Masks will still be required in each area, and the indoor courts will be limited to just 2 participants per court.
We've gotten the clearing to only allow 2 people per basket, with the caveat that both people are using masks and that they're not necessarily playing like your stereotypical one-on-one. We're basically opening the basketball courts for 2 people to shoot around, and that's about it at the moment, which I know is frustrating because it's like we want the basketball courts to be open, we want to play, and I'm there with everyone. We haven't quite gotten to that point yet.
Now we'll go to Madeline for our forecast this weekend. Madeline?
This weekend, we are finally looking at some warmer weather with sunshine on the way, but it may be cloudy going into next week, so make sure you get outside this weekend and soak up the sun while you can. Back to you, Bailey.
Well, this wraps up this week's show. We appreciate you tuning in, and we hope to see you again next week. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Peace and love, Manhattan.
This is Channel 8 News.